More than 4 billion people live across this vast continent called Asia, and we're telling their stories. On this edition, Heritage in Ruins. Cultural artifacts and historical sites in Mosul suffer some of the worst damage under ISIL's rule. And falling into addiction. How some people displaced by armed conflict in Myanmar are turning to drugs, and what's being done to rehabilitate. I'm Tony Cheng, and this is Assignment Asia. Welcome to the program. Conflict leaves scars on people and places, damage that can be difficult, if not impossible, to undo. In the Iraqi city of Mosul, which was once the stronghold of the so-called Islamic State, the casualties included the city's heritage. Following ISIL's defeat, the city has had to confront the extremist plunder and destruction of its cultural artifacts and historical sites. And it was in Mosul that I saw the immense damage that ISIL had wrought as they attempted to rewrite history and wipe out anything that didn't fit with their extreme worldview. These were the remains of a great civilization, the ruins of Nimrud, an Assyrian city that stood between 1350 and 610 BC. Amazingly intricate carvings and some of the finest examples of the ancient script cuneiform. The Lamassu, a winged half-man, half-ox, had stood guard at the gates of the city for millennia, through disasters sent by man and the gods. But in early 2015, the Lamassu met its match. In a slickly produced propaganda video, an unnamed member of ISIL, the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, proclaims the site haram.
وها نحن ولله الحمد والمنة وكما ترون نزيل كل نصب وتمثال جعل منه ندا لله ذي الجلال والإكرام.
Like a group of teenage vandals, ISIL fighters sat upon the priceless ruins with hammers, pounding the intricate carvings and reliefs to dust. While many of Nimrod's treasures had been taken to museums in the West, some might say looted, a significant number had been left in place. Jackhammers smashed through the walls. Saws and grinders cut through the metal bindings, put in place to keep the precious structures safe. A digger collects the rubble, dumping it in an unceremonious pile before more of the carvings are defaced. But even that was not enough.
وكلما تمكنا من بقعة أرض أزلنا معالم الشرك منها ونشرنا التوحيد في ربوع هذه الأرض ووالله لنزيلن معالم الشرك حتى نهدم قبور وأضرحة الرافضة في عقر ديارهم ولنكسرن الصلبان ولنهدمن البيت الأسود في عقر دار الكفر أمريكا والله غالب على أمره.
The site, which had only been partially excavated and was thought to contain many more treasures, is then blown up several times. Today it's a minor miracle that anything recognizable remains. It's amazing to look at these reliefs, which are so finely and precisely carved into the marble. That's one of the reasons why they survived as long as 3,000 years, it's thought. But you can also see in the walls of the modern buildings the bullet holes from where ISIS destroyed this whole place. The city of Nimrud survived 3,000 years in a changing world with many changing civilizations, but it couldn't survive 2 years of ISIL occupation. And if you look on the ground, you can see fragments where they've just smashed up everything. We can't go much further than this because the soldiers who are guarding this place say that it's still quite heavily mined. Large chunks of stone are still identifiable. A huge and unwieldy jigsaw puzzle waiting to be started, and smaller fragments are littered all across the site. From the air, the outlines of the ancient city are still visible. And this is not the only site of archaeological importance in the area. This used to be the ancient empire of Mesopotamia.
The Assyrian Empire had been established in this area. So in Nineveh province, we have three capitals of Assyrian empires: Nimrud, Nineveh, and Khorassan. In addition of Ashur in the southeast of Mosul city in Shargat. So that means it's very important actually, especially for the archaeologists who are concerned about the prehistoric.
Dr. Salih is one of the region's foremost experts in Nimrud and other sites in and around Mosul. Seeing the destruction of so many historical sites by ISIL during their occupation was heartbreaking, she says. But not everything is lost.
It is still restorable. So why? Because the rubble is still there in the site. So that means, to be honest, it will take a long of time. It could be 10 years or more than. But after that, it is restorable. So it's different of the other side. For example, Yahya ibn al-Qasim, the shrine on the river. So after they explode the site, they remove the rubble and throw it on the river. So how we can rebuild the site again?
But the destruction wasn't only driven by ISIL's extreme ideology.
We discovered in the house of ISIS commander, left side of Mosul city, we discovered around 107 pieces. So those pieces coming from illegal digging.
Mosul Museum is where Dr. Salih should be working. But today, it's an empty shell. Mosul Museum was looted in 2003 in the aftermath of the American invasion and had only just been rebuilt in 2014 when ISIL overran the city. It housed one of the largest collections of Assyrian artifacts in the world, mainly from the ancient city of Nimrud. But like Nimrud, ISIL decided that what was here was the worship of idols, and they destroyed everything. Although when you visit now, the cases are completely empty, and it's not entirely clear if it was looted a second time under the control of ISIL or in the chaos that followed the liberation of the city. Inside, nothing remains of the priceless collections that had been housed here except the exhibition cases that held them. The sale of illegal artifacts was a major source of ISIL funding, and looted antiquities from Iraq have been turning up around the globe, including a large haul found in the hands of Hobby Lobby, an evangelical Christian corporation based in the United States. Sadly, some pieces were just too large to steal and have been mindlessly destroyed. But it wasn't just ancient civilizations that ISIL targeted. Karakosh was the largest Christian town in modern Iraq and an example of more tolerant times in the region. Under ISIL's occupation, the Church of the Immaculate Conception was converted into a training center for fighters who ransacked everything they could find. In the courtyard, a pile of embers remains of what had been a vitally important library, cataloguing the settlement of early Christians in the region. Book burning became a symbol of ISIL's oppressive rule, and as they retreated from East Mosul, they torched the library at Mosul University. It had housed one of the finest collections of manuscripts and documents in the Middle East, and despite their self-proclaimed mission to protect Islam, according to those who forced them out, they've done great damage to Islamic scholarship.
لأن الآثار العربية واللب مال الآثار العربية هي كانت موجودة في هاي المكتبة. يعني هاي المكتبة بيها تاريخ. قبل شوي قلت لك اكو كتب ما موجودة بأي مكان ما عدا هاي المكتبة.
But after months of peace, little has been done to restore or revive the university, a symbol of great pride to the inhabitants of Mosul. We were here not long after the library at Mosul University was incinerated by fleeing ISIL fighters. You could still hear the crackling of the embers as the books had burnt. But in the 6 months that have passed, very little has changed. In effect, the authorities have just put a gate across the door so that no one can get in. And that is a source of enormous frustration to the people of Mosul, particularly students who are desperately keen to get on with their education, particularly after having it stalled for 2 years while their city was under ISIL control. But here, what was once one of the greatest universities in the Middle East has now been reduced to this small pile of books. That sort of neglect is common around Mosul. Although ISIL have been expelled and a relative stability returned, little effort has been made to restore the city's cultural treasures. Perhaps that's not surprising in a city that has no sewers, running water, or even homes for many of its inhabitants.
To be honest, the cultural heritage is not the priorities of the local authorities. They just focus on the camps, or how to provide the assistance reliefs for people, how to they provide the service, the infrastructure. So, but they have to focus on the cultural heritage also.
And that's a view echoed by UNESCO, the UN agency charged with protecting the world's cultural heritage.
Of course, it may sound very weird to say, why do you care about protecting cultural heritage? But it is important to protect cultural heritage, not only because of the conflict, because it will also serve for the reconstruction, the reconciliation, peace building after the conflict. And that's extremely important.
UNESCO had started work in Mosul as early as 2012 to try and protect one of the city's most iconic sites, the centuries-old Al-Nouri Mosque. Fighting in West Mosul centered on the famous Leaning Tower, the minaret known as Al-Hadba. Then, as ISIL forces crumbled in late June, they chose to obliterate the symbol of the city. And that cultural vandalism is being seen by UNESCO as a new tactic of militant groups like ISIL.
In the past, cultural heritage was destroyed in the middle of a battle, of conflict, because of bombing, etc., etc. But now what we see is that it's also used as a tactic of war to dominate others, to control a territory, to change the history of the people. And that is the danger that we see.
But there is one ray of light. On a hill overlooking the city sits the tomb of Jonah, also known as the Nebi Yunus Shrine, a site celebrated by Christians and Muslims alike. The tomb has been badly damaged by shelling and airstrikes, but below the surface, new treasures have been revealed. Inside a cavern, Lieutenant Hussein shows us where ISIL started looting the shrine.
هذا كان هنا، هذا مسدود من هنا، هذا باب فلشوه داعش، فجروه أخذوا الآثار.
But they went further, as he points out. Tunnels, about 15 in all, going deep into the mound. Some 2 or 3 meters long, others go 20 or 30 meters deep. Although they were defensive tunnels, they uncovered a previously undiscovered Assyrian palace. You can see all sorts of archaeological treasures down here, some fragments of pottery, some stone columns, and down here what appears to be part of a major structure. And these have all been covered up for centuries until ISIS dug these defensive tunnels. This was clearly done during the final days of ISIL control. On the floor, hair from fighters' beards, shaven as they tried to flee and blend in. And for the present, the full extent of what ISIL discovered is unknown. Mosul remains too unstable for proper archaeological investigations to begin. But on the path back to peace, after 2 years of ISIL's brutal rule, this once proud city will have to look back to its glorious past. UNESCO has launched the Heritage Emergency Fund to raise money for the protection of heritage sites in places of conflict and disaster. The initiative aims not only to help rebuild destroyed sites, but also to raise money to recover stolen cultural artifacts. Next on Assignment Asia, the scars of conflict on Myanmar's displaced people. The long-running conflict between ethnic groups in the military in Myanmar has displaced thousands upon thousands of people. And having lost their homes and possessions after fleeing war, some of the country's internally displaced people, or IDPs, have fallen into drug addiction. In Myanmar's Kachin state, Dave Grunbaum visited rehab camps where heroin addicts are struggling to rebuild their lives.
These are voices of young men looking for hope. They're all drug addicts, ranging in age from 17 to 35. They've enrolled in a 3-month drug rehabilitation camp to try to salvage their lives. But one of them cannot join the chorus right now. Labong Brang Dai is going through withdrawal. He's 24 years old and has been hooked on heroin for about 5 years. He tried to conquer his addiction on his own several times, but always failed. Brang Dai was displaced by the armed conflict near his home close to Myanmar's border with China. He made his way to the Kachin state capital's Machina and soon found easy access to heroin. Patung Nana, another person displaced by the armed conflict, went through the same cycle. Nana started using heroin after he took a job in the timber industry. His co-workers and friends would often turn to heroin, and he soon followed suit. For years, his addiction dictated his life, his hard-earned money being blown on heroin. He came to this rehabilitation camp several months before Labong Brang Dai did. After completing the program, he has stayed on as a volunteer to help others going through the same crisis he faced. The facilities at this rehabilitation camp are basic, from the meals and the dormitory to the laundry and the showers. It's one of a dozen drug rehabilitation camps supported by the Kachin Baptist Convention. The Kachin are an ethnic and religious minority in Buddhist-majority Myanmar. Addiction to drugs, particularly heroin, has been ravaging their community. Along the banks of the Irrawaddy River in Machina, we found used syringes. Concrete data is hard to come by here, but there are estimates that about 1 in 3 Kachin men between the ages of 20 and 30 are drug addicts, and it's usually heroin. Many locals believe that percentage is higher for young men displaced by the armed conflict in this region. There are more than 20 armed ethnic insurgent groups inside Myanmar. At the root of these ongoing conflicts is the desire of ethnic minorities to have more political control in the regions of the country where they make up the majority.
Ethnic minority areas are certainly
the most resource-rich regions in Burma. And the ethnic minorities are mainly asking for self-determination and autonomy in the areas they live in. So the struggle is not only for the exploitation of natural resources, but also for political autonomy and equality and justice.
In the past 6 years, about 85,000 people in Kachin have been displaced by the violence. Many of them end up in camps like this for internally displaced persons or IDPs. State Councilor Aung San Suu Kyi has made the peace process a top priority and recently visited Kachin State. But no one expects decades of armed conflict to be resolved anytime soon.
Locals say one of the reasons why so many IDPs have become heroin addicts is because after being forced away from their homes and work, many of them take jobs as laborers in the timber industry or jade mines. The days are long and painful. Heroin is readily available and widely used.
Where you be not on fire and a chin in a chima, Lungari Jate Bono, a yam be not saying la for a general to yard.
The Reverend Labong Brongong is an IDP himself. Before becoming in charge of this drug rehabilitation camp, he saw firsthand why so many IDPs were becoming addicts.
General, the IDP ma yaude chima, a keke and yashi bade. General IDP ma near chima, General Nason, Sawon yet to a keke and yashi there. She there chima, Edia Lunari has so in lebe, to sharp with Sato yade. No? General Alolo yade, load a chima, Anina Bawin chima, the load him, she there chima, away you to ayade. General, the more that there, a daughter to chima, Eddie March or Muyasiwa, Yabianida. Yabianida chima, Eddie chima, Eddie Lunari net. Many
people in this state accuse the country's security forces of deliberately allowing drugs to become widespread and even profiting from the business. It's an accusation the government denies.
Many of Kachin's largest community organizations have essentially empowered a group of vigilantes with no government authority to take matters into their own hands. The group is called Pachasan. Members apprehend alleged drug dealers and users and chop down poppy fields.
This is one of Pachasan's detention centers in Machina, and this is how a prisoner is being held. We were allowed access on the condition that we would not show his face or reveal his identity. This prisoner was captured a few days earlier. Pachasan says they might keep him in a leg lock for more than a week and only allow him out to use the toilet or bathe. The group says their extreme approach is necessary because of the community's high drug addiction rate.
And the boy young yeah, and I'm young man, and the Mungan to come up Manang, Tamjokalo.
Pachasan tries to convince the detainees to enter a drug rehabilitation program. This is similar to Paltung Nawna's experience after his mother reported him to Pachasan. He now spends his time preparing meals and providing support to this new group of addicts. At this camp, there's no methadone. The program includes group support, religion, and music. Maran James Nawna is the head music teacher and also a former heroin addict.
Amandake Lumia name who General Pampo Proto Kunibe, Edo Kujibe, Niama General Cadre, Jama, some shall mudilo at that day. Through say that meeting move no, say that meeting move, Pianlemu, a buying General Losam Piera, she there. Eddie Losam by my General Bada ye, Chung Omugo General Atika Tabilo, Losam Bede, Edoria, say that Pianle Chin, Gaya, Jama Chin, a General Atika Tabilo Losam Beba.
The camp is surrounded by a 10-foot high wall so that no one can escape under the cover of night. A strict daily schedule is followed. Wake up at 5 a.m., lights out by 10 p.m.
ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီကျောင်းမှာတော့ဘယ်လိုဖြစ်ဖြစ်စီမင်းစည်းကမ်းလေးတွေတော့ထားပေးတယ်သူတို့အတွက်သူတို့ကိုဒီမူရစေဝါကနေကျွန်တော်တို့လွတ်မြောက်အောင်ကြိုးစားတယ်ဆိုတဲ့နေရာမှာသူတို့ရဲ့ဘဝသူတို့ရဲ့အသက်တာမှာပေါ့နော်ပြောင်းလဲခြင်းအများကြီးရှိရတယ်မတောက်တော့ဘူးဆိုတဲ့ဟာတစ်ချက်ထဲနဲ့သူတို့ဟာဆိုရင်မူရစေဝါကနေမလွတ်မြောက်နိုင်ဘူးအဲ့တော့ပြောချင်တယ်ပေါ့နားထောင်ခြင်းစီကံတည်ဝတ်မှုရှိခြင်းပေါ့နော်ပြောချင်တယ်ပေါ့ဒီ ethic ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာပေါ့နော်ဒီကျွန်တော်တို့ကိုကျင့်တရားကောင်းမွန်ခြင်းဒါတွေလည်းပါတယ်တကယ်တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဆေးဖြတ်ပြီးပြီဆိုပေမဲ့လည်းသူတို့ကစီကံတကြတဲ့နေထိုင်တတ်ခြင်းမရှိဘူးကိုကျင့်တရားမှာအားနည်းတယ်ဆိုတော့ပြန်တောက်မိပါပဲဒါကြောင့်မို့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီမှာစီကံတကြနဲ့နေတတ်အောင်လည်းကျွန်တော်တို့ကဒီမှာ training ပေးတယ်
With each passing day, Brang Dai makes progress in conquering his addiction, leaning on his friends here, who've become more like family. He says he's confident that with their support, he'll beat this addiction for good. For Assignment Asia, I'm Dave Grunebaum in Kachin State, Myanmar.
Various NGOs have joined the effort to help rehabilitate drug addicts amongst IDPs, but they say intervention won't work if the civil conflict that has forced people out of their homes remains unresolved. If you'd like to find out more about that story or the rest of our show, then have a look at our website at www.assignment-asia.com. That's all the time we have for this week. I'm Tony Chang. Thanks for watching, and join us again on Assignment Asia. If you'd like to share your thoughts and contribute story ideas for future shows, then contact us on social media.